everyone, it's John, your Indian Cine-MANIAC, back with another 10ish-minute review off the viewer choice list. That's right, I'm still cranking out the viewer choice list. So I hope you've been enjoying it. I got to tell you, the views haven't been fantastic. I think Article 370 got 1,000 hits, but it's okay. I'm really enjoying these movies. So I like the list that you guys have compiled. There's been some, pretty dramatic ones, and some of you have recommended some lighter ones. So I'm taking your advice. So the film that I'm going to review today off the list, and a lot of you told me to watch this, is I know I'm not going to pronounce this right. Soorarai Pottru. It's a 2020 Tamil film, which of course means praise the brave, based on a true story. Directed by Sudha Kongara Prsasad, stars Suriya, who I've seen in two films, Vikram and 24, which I really liked. I like Vikram too. Aparna Balamurali, who plays his wife, who I loved in this film. Paresh Rawal, I've seen him in Sanju, OMG, Table Number 21. I've seen him in a lot of stuff. But this, from 2020, was his first Tamil film. Mohan Babu and Urvashi. This was inspired by the book and the true story of Captain G.R. Gopinath, which is called Sinply Fly, Deccan Odyssey. He started his own airline for the masses. So let's start with the story. The story is about a young guy who his dream is to create an airline that everybody could fly on in India. Because at the time, unless you were, I don't know, wealthy, or definitely upper middle class, you couldn't fly. And they didn't want you to fly, according to this film. So, and that's a whole caste system thing, right? So it's his battle against the big airlines in India. So it had a feel of the Aviator, which was the story of Howard Hughes. A small guy going against the giant conglomerate, and the giant conglomerate's trying to crush you. And it's his perseverance. It's and all he wants is to have planes that people can fly for very little money. And his feeling is they can make it up in volume the more people that fly. And that's his goal throughout the entire film. And spoilers, he achieves it, but not without a lot of up and downs. That's basically the story. And again, it's a David versus Goliath story, but because it is a true story I had never heard of before, I'm going to give the story a 4. And I'll get into the story a little bit. And of course, I have my notes here. So this movie opens up with a plane, one of his planes from Deccan. They call it Deccan Air, I think they call it. Yeah, which the real airline was called Air Deccan Airlines. So a plane is crashing, and you hear it from the pilot, you hear it from the where the pilots talk to the not the ground crew, oh my God, I can't even think of the name of it, where the guys with the headsets sit. And then they show Suriya, his character, Mana, I think his name was Mana, with a guy in the back riding his motorcycle, and the plane is going to land at a military base, and he's going down the runway of this military base. The plane lands, there's smoke everywhere. He's trying to find out if everyone's okay. Now all the military guys show up, surround him with their guns pointing at him. That's the opening scene, right? Now it flashes back to 1997, where they show you a scene, and I don't. This is a location I don't believe I've ever seen before, but it's also the first musical number where they're dancing like on this hill, but it's very barren. Like there's no trees or anything, and the number was pretty cool. It's funny in these Tamil movies, the dance numbers are so different than the Bollywood type. The way they dance, it almost is more. Even though it's choreographed, it doesn't look choreographed. It looks like dancing that normal people would do. Um, and that sets up where he meets his future wife, Bommy. It's not an arranged marriage, but they're introducing, the parents are introducing to him to decide if they want to get married. And she ends up rejecting him because all he wants in his life is to start this airline, and she wants to start a bakery. So they have opposite goals, right? So they don't think, there's no reason to get married. And it was a really cute scene too, the way they did it. So then you find out that his father is an activist, but a nonviolent activist. So he makes things happen in his village without violence. Well, he takes a completely different approach, and there's a scene where there's a violent confrontation at the train station. One of his friends gets hit with a rock. Now the father's really upset with him. This is nonviolence, and you shouldn't do this. And they had a big fight, and he ends up leaving. He ends up actually going in the military. And here's the funny thing about the military scenes. Whenever anything was done during the military scenes, there was how they do the smoking, the messages at the bottom corner about smoking. Well, this one had a disclaimer every time something even relatively on the fence of not being good was shown on the military base. It said this scene does not depict official policy of the Indian Air Force. So they were very aware of that. So I thought that was kind of funny. So he's a hotshot pilot now. And if you looked at him, I mean, this actor, I guess he lost a lot of weight to play the younger version of himself. But he's a great pilot. He's got problems with the commanding officer, which is something that comes back later on. But I mean, this was just a feel good story because they kept putting up roadblocks to him, and you also find out why he wanted to do this. There's a brutal, emotional scene. So he hasn't seen his father, and his father's now dying, and he needs to get back from the military base to their village. And he only has so much money, and the only seat available on the plane is a first class plane seat, which is double what he's got. So he is literally in the gate area begging for money, and just tears are pouring down, and no one will give him any money. No one will help him. And the only way you get home is to hitch rides or the train or whatever. Well, he finally shows up at the house. And this scene was like, he finally gets home. The father's dead. And the mother wants to know why he even came home. And the mother's so angry with him because his father actually did love him very much and was proud of him. And he's just crying, and he's beside himself, and he grabs her legs, and finally she kind of pats his head. But that scene was like, oh my God. That was his impetus to start an airline with cheap fares. That's how it started. And you find that out a little later on too. So the way he get makes the first pitch to the evil big airline was kind of cool. He get books a first class ticket with all his money, knowing the guy's going to be there. And that guy was a real weasel too. I mean, he really was a weasel. I like the way he played that Paresh Rawal. Um, and finally, and again, I'm not giving you the whole story because you guys don't like that, but the scene that was right out of It's a Wonderful Life. At the end of It's a Wonderful Life, if you've never seen it, George Bailey is bankrupt, and they're going to arrest him. Well, the whole town comes together to give him the money he needs. That's the line to my big brother George, the richest man in town. Well, in this film, he's short of funds, and everybody in this village, and it's a poor village, they all pool their money together. One girl even broke a piggy bank to give him the money to be, because they all want this to succeed, and they all want to get on the planes, and they're all behind him. And there are a few challenges that happen where they think they're going to lose all their money and everything. But for me, the end was amazing because the scenes of all these villagers getting on the planes, people who have never flown before, and the joy of their flying. And it was also during the credits, they show pictures from the actual inauguration flight and people actually getting on the flights. And it was just wonderful. What a great payoff of the film. And I will tell you, my favorite part of this whole thing was the relationship between the husband and wife. It wasn't typical Indian film husband wife relationship. She was a firecracker. She was strong. She was smart. And there was one scene where he slapped her and she took off and he thought he lost her and he's going all over the place trying to find her. He finally comes home and she's sitting there and he just feels awful and he goes down, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And that's when she tells him she's pregnant. And she says, where am I going to go? And he kind of smiles. But their relationship, and there was one point where he needed a loan. She started this bakery and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And he felt so awful. I need to borrow 15,000 from you. And he felt terrible and he didn't want to do it. And she didn't answer if she'd do it or not. And finally they go through this whole thing and she goes, I'm going to give you 20. Because remember when we got married, we said, this is our airline. This is our bakery. So of course I'm going to help you. It was a great relationship. And their marriage proposal, she's riding in one of those little, I don't know what you call them. They look like rickshaws almost. And he's driving next to her with a motorcycle and they decide to get married. It was a really cute scene. But yeah, I really like this. And Suriya, I thought was excellent in this. And I've liked him in the other things I've seen him in, but he carried this film. His perseverance, just a great feel good at the end of this movie, even with all the bad things, including sabotage. So yeah, great call on this one. So yeah, the story I'm going to give a 4. The performances, and I think I've already pretty much looked at the guy who played the evil guy was really kind of a scumbag, and looked down on the lower casts, and the actually, the relationship with his mother was really good. When she came off the plane, it was very emotional for the first time. But the relationship between him, the wife, and the couple of guys from the military, including the commander, who he didn't get along with, but ended up having his back when he needed it. When there was sabotage happening, his military people guarded the planes. So I'm going to give the performances a 4 because I thought they were great. And again, I thought the couple was the best. The music, you know me and the music. I mean, it was okay. I thought the dance numbers were, there was a couple of, the first number was when they're on the hill in the funeral. The second number, she rejects him for the marriage proposal, and he's really bummed out about it. First, he was kind of ambivalent about it, but then he realized, yeah, I kind of liked her. Then the third song was after he slapped her and is looking for her, so it was sad. Fourth song, as they're building the airline and the runway, is very inspirational. Um, so and the final song was during the credits where they show people being able to fly and the joy of that. So the music was, it was good. Didn't blow me away. It wasn't like, wow, that music, and the dance numbers were okay. So I'll give the music a 3. But overall, I have to tell you that I really did enjoy this film. So I am going to give this because I've seen a lot of dark movies, and the inspiration of this story and understanding what it meant to India and its people is a pretty amazing thing too. So I'm going to give this movie a 4. What do you think about that? Okay, so that's my review. That's my 10-ish-minute review. So listen, the next film I'm going to review, it's not off the list. It happened to show up on my queue, and I'm a huge Ajay Devgan fan, as you guys know, and Madhavan too. So the next film I'm going to watch is a 2024 release that's just came on Netflix called Shaitan, Shaitan, which is Arabic for Satan. So I have a pretty good feeling what this film's going to be about. I also watched the trailer, so I do have kind of an idea. So, and then I'm going to get right back to the list, okay? So let me know what you think in the comment section. As always, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these and leave comments. I appreciate it. And that's it. We'll talk to you soon with another 10-ish-minute review. Thanks for watching, everybody.